Borough President Donovan Richards. So good morning to you.
Good morning.
Thanks for being with us. So there have been some issues with areas in Queens dealing with flooding. We've had so many storms the last few weeks. How are those areas doing now? Has the water all receded? And how much damage was there to some of those residents?
Yeah, it's the ongoing story, and it's unfortunate that we need a lot more federal infrastructure intervention to really address many of these flooding issues. But a lot of it is tidal flooding that we incur in Queens, and we're looking forward to continuing to work with the Army Corps to really address a lot of the tidal flooding issues in Queens.
And how have residents been helped?
They've been okay. OEM has been very responsive to the Office of Emergency Management. And, there's always going to be some sort of damage. It's one of the reasons why we are pushing to make sure that we can legalize basements across the county. We want to bring them up to grade, up to code. And then some areas we really need to entertain buybacks from the state.
Okay. We also have to talk about that house fire in Hillcrest where I believe 6 family members, 2 police officers injured. What is the latest on that investigation as to what caused it, and also how are those people doing?
Well, FDNY is continuing to investigate this issue, and we've just had, during the winter, we always see an increase in fires, and we really caution residents to really be careful with candles and other things that do increase the likelihood of fires. So there's an ongoing investigation. We obviously had another fire in Sunnyside a few weeks ago. Those families are still being displaced. So we continue to work with the Red Cross. We look forward to hearing a little bit more about the investigation. But I want to thank our first responders for certainly stepping up to make sure that those families could be taken out safely.
And the family, they're doing okay?
They're doing okay.
Okay. We want to switch gears and talk about the migrant crisis. There are a lot of residents still complaining about the increase in the number of migrants. Do you support this curfew that's now being implemented?
No, I just think it's another barrier being put in place for migrants who are really trying to figure out a way to work, to get out of the shelter system. And I'm interested in certainly hearing where these complaints coming from, because one of the locations, for instance, is the JFK Respite Center, and there's literally nothing around it. I just was in there. There are over 500 individuals, and there's no neighborhood in the vicinity. This is in the middle of JFK Airport. So we want to make sure we're careful about the rhetoric we use when we talk about migrants. We don't want people to vilify them. These are individuals who've come here in search of a better life. And if there are quality of life issues that need to be dealt with, I think there are other ways to do it. If you're trying to address panhandling, so what, do you panhandle from 9 to 5? So the real thing is to just make sure that we are getting work authorizations, that we continue to push the federal government to provide federal resources to the city, and we continue to have all hands on deck to ensure that our neighbors are getting the services that they need, especially in light of MLK Day.
Yeah, and the thing that is a big concern, especially with the dropping temperatures, is there enough places for them right now to find shelter?
Right, and so if the answer is to put them out on the street, what is the answer? You want us to step over them over the subway, then we'll have complaints about that. We need to make sure that we're treating our migrant brothers and sisters humanely. The proud son of an immigrant who became a United States citizen in 2020, and I see my father in a lot of these individuals every day.
Sure. Recently, though, because of the flooding, we had thousands, I would say hundreds of people moving into a high school, right? Is there no other place to have these people when we have severe weather than schools? What about old churches maybe not being used?
Well, the problem is the city's going to have to pivot fast, and schools do provide somewhat of infrastructure. And as somebody who represented the Rockaways after Hurricane Sandy, we use schools, we use college campuses, because the Office of Emergency Management certainly does a lot of work to pre-evaluate these locations in advance of storms. So, of course, in a perfect world, we would have churches set up. We would have a myriad of different options. But I think in the event of an emergency, you have to be able to move really fast, and schools provide that opportunity.
All right, let's talk about something positive here. The Willets Point soccer stadium. You gave the thumbs up to the next phase. I'm just curious, though, you have a list of demands for developers. So let's count those down. What are these demands?
All 1,000 of them?
Yeah.
But the soccer stadium certainly we scored a goal for the borough. And the thing is just to make sure, because we've seen these major stadium projects pop up across the country, around the city, and promises are not always kept. So we wanted to make sure that we had things in place that would ensure that even after Borough President Richards leaves, that the next generation of leaders will have commitments from the developers. So jobs. I mean, the beauty of this project is we are bringing on thousands of union jobs. Affordable housing, something critical as we talk about the migrant crises.
Yes.
But we will, at the end of this project, have created the largest affordable housing development in New York City's history in the last 40 years, 2,500 units of affordable housing. And think about it, 15% set aside for the formerly homeless, who will be able to have views of Citi Field in this new soccer field, which is amazing. So we wanted to make sure that we put things in place that would ensure that there was reporting mechanisms on the jobs, on the housing, and also we talk about street vendors. Street vendors must be incorporated in this project as well.
Very cool. When do they actually break ground?
So we have just approved it. We still have the City Planning Commission and the City Council, which will approve it. But we anticipate we'll break ground in 2027. A little bit after the World Cup, but the bottom line is we've definitely scored a goal for the borough.
That's awesome. And real quickly, MLK Day, how is the borough honoring the Martin Luther King today?
Well, we'll be out. I'll be out in 30-degree weather in a little while at the Flushing Promenade with Delta Airlines, and we're doing a big cleanup for the neighborhoods of East Elmhurst. And today is really about a day of service, and every day has to be a day of service. As Dr. King said, you're not too young, you're not too old to ever serve. You're not too good to ever serve. So today is a day of service, and we'll be out certainly getting our hands dirty.
All right. Thanks so much for taking the time to come in today on this bitter cold Monday morning. We appreciate it.
Well, you have warm hearts, so it's great to be here.
Oh, you're so sweet. You can come back anytime.